Hello everyone, welcome to this session where we are going to discuss the JEE Main NTA Test 53. And frankly speaking, midway going through the paper, I was wondering why I'm solving. This paper is not an easy one. It might be a heartbreaker for an average student. Some questions require many calculation. Concepts are not easy. It is not less than any advanced paper. Though I have classified 7 as tough, 12 as medium, many medium questions might also seem tough to most of the students I know. So this is actually a paper, this is actually a very good paper for the JEE Main level. The scores won't be high. Good students can score always, but I see for an average student, if he is getting 50 plus, he should be happy in this paper, I should say. I'm not talking about any good scores. Good score depend on your personality. Otherwise, anything above 50, it means you are good enough. You can pass through some difficult test. So let's see this. It might be a horror paper for most of you, I fear. चलिए देखते हैं क्या है आज JEE Main Test 53 में. First question. A stationary hydrogen atom in its first excited state emits a photon. If the mass of the hydrogen is m and ionization energy is E, then the recoil velocity acquired by the atom is. Now, most of the time when such questions are given, we know the recoil energy is very small as compared to the photon's energy. So we generally take the photon energy be equal to the difference of the two, which is what we say E2 minus E1. And E2 minus E1, you know that basically comes out as this would be, if I say this ionization energy is E, this would be minus E by 4 and this is minus E. So that comes out as, because total energy is in negative in these all states. So this basically, if I solve it, this minus I have put it already, so no need to put it double. So it comes out as 3E by 4. So if this photon energy is this, we know the momentum of photon would be 3A by 4C, and since the recoiling atom will have the same momentum, so that should be equal to m times v. So v recoil should be equal to 3E by 4mc. So this is what we generally do. But here, if I see what the answer is given, this option is given, but this is not given as answer. They have taken a generalized idea that if the total energy released is E, and this energy E, that is 3 by 4 that we have calculated, they have written it to be half mv square plus the energy of the photon which they have calculated. So the energy of the photon, if I calculate energy of photon, again I can say P equal to E by C, so energy would be equal to mvc. So they have gone by this formula. Ideally both options should not be given, and if I solve using this particular result, I'll get this the result which they have given. But I will be more inclined to go with C. Both options should not be given. Typically what we do is like the C1. We have done so many questions in the NTA test till now which have been solved using this formula, but in this particular question they have taken to be the very general energy conservation idea, which is not wrong, I say, but anyway, we can't do much. Come to the next one. Two identical spheres of mass m are suspended by vertical springs such that they are in contact with their centers at the same level. Okay. Third identical sphere strikes the other two spheres simultaneously with a velocity u. It is coming, u is vertically downwards, okay, such that the center of the sphere at the instant of impact form an equilateral triangle in a vertical plane. If the collision is perfectly elastic, then the combined impulse due to the strings is okay. Now, so first of all, if I draw this diagram, let me draw it. The situation is, let's say this is strikes. This is the first and this is the second one. They are touching actually. So they are forming an equilateral triangle. So this length is 2r, and if I can, from logic, I can say this angle will be 30 degrees. Now, on this top block, top sphere, I can say this normal first will be like this, and this normal will be like this, and from symmetry I call it n and n. And if I make it out, the angles will be 30 degrees. Just check the geometry first. So first of all, the impulse that acts on this sphere, that would be 2n cos 30 degree into delta t, and that would be equal to change in its momentum. So let's assume now it goes up with speed, let's say v1. So what is the momentum change? We will write m v1 minus u, because that u was opposite to it, so that becomes v1 plus u. So this is the first equation. Now on this any of these sphere, let's say this is the normal reaction that will react, that is n, and this is t. Mg is not impulsive, so I'm not taking mg, and I know from the constraint it will go like this. Because the string is taut, it cannot go down, it can only go horizontally like this. So let's say this is the velocity v. So in the horizontal, the normal will exert the impulse, this angle will be 60, so this angle is also 60 degree. So the impulse along horizontal is n cos 60 degree into delta t, that is equal to change in its momentum, that is mv. That is the second equation that I've got. Okay, now third thing, because it is elastic collision, first of all, when it was coming with speed u, so this was the speed u, so its component along the line joining, this line joining, that would be u cos 30. So speed of approach was u cos 30 degree. Now separation speed, because it is going here v, so the component along this line would be v cos 60, and because I have assumed it is going up, so its component, that would be equal to again 30 degree, that would be minus will become plus v1 cos 30. Just remember, this is going there, this is going there, so separation, both will get add up because both are in opposite direction. So this is my third equation. So if I do this, what I will get, taking this here, u minus v1 cos 30 would be root 3 by 2, that would be equal to v by 2. So cancelling it. So this is the third equation that I have got now. So now, first of all, from this whole idea, let's substitute. I need to, let's say this v is u minus v1 root 3, and from the above thing, let's say if I equate it, just 2n cos 30, cos 30 is what we say is root 3 by 2. So first equation is root 3 and delta t is mv1 plus u. The second equation similarly is n delta t, half I send it there, that is 2mv. Now putting this n delta t value from above, so I get it as m v1 plus u upon root 3 is equals to 2mv, and if I put the value of v here, this is root 3 into u minus v1. So this m and m get cancelled. What I get, v1 plus u is equals to 6u minus 6v1. So what I get, this is 5u here, this becomes what, 7v1. So the v1 will be 5u by 7. Okay, now you have to find the combined impulse due to the strings. Now due to the string, I know a string will balance this impulse of normal in the vertical, so that t delta t should be equals to n, what I say, this is equal to it is 60 degree sine 60. Okay, so this is n sine 60 degree into delta t. So I have to take the total, so total will be double of that, so that is 2t delta t, that is equal to 2n sine 60, which is root 3 by 2 into delta t. That is what I can make it out. Cancelling this, wait 1 minute, cancelling this 2 and 2. Now what I have, n root 3 delta t, that is the impulse, and n root 3 delta t, I had this term here, this is, so this is going to be the answer, m v1 plus u, v1 is 5u by 7, so 5u by 7 plus u, so what I get now, this is 12mu by 7. So this option is A. So it's a very, very good question, not an easy one. It has taken me also much time to come to the conclusion, so it is going to take time for you. Now the next one. A bead. Bead means what we say moti in Hindi. A bead of mass m can slide without friction along a vertical ring of radius r like this. One end of the spring constant 3 mg by r is connected to the bead, and the other is fixed at the center of the ring. Initially bead is at the point A, and due to the small pitch starts sliding down. If it momentarily loses contact with the ring when it makes an angle 60 with the vertical, then the natural length of the spring is okay. So what is the natural length? I need to remember. So this angle is 60. It has lost contact. So at this time, spring might be definitely normal becomes 0, and this is mg, and this will be definitely, because to counter that, this force would be, let's say, k delta L. Delta L be the extension, or kx or delta L, whatever you write, it's up to you. Now what we had, it starts sliding down the ring. Because it is sliding down the ring, there is no friction, so I can also apply the energy analysis also here. So normal has become 0, so what I can say, looking at it, what I can write that first of all, the spring extension will forever remain same. Why it will remain same? Because this length is same. So if it is delta L here, it was delta L also here, so spring energy change is 0. So first of all, what I can write mg, what I have, this is mg cos 60 degree minus k delta L, that would be equal to mv square by r. And from an energy analysis, I say the gain in kinetic energy would be the expense of loss in potential energy, which is mg. If I take that height would be r 1 minus cos 60 degree. So cos 60 is 1 by 2, that is mg r by 2, that is equal to mu square by 2. so this is getting cancelled. So this u square, or directly u square by r, I can directly write u square by r is equal to g. So put it here. So mg cos 60 mg by 2 minus k delta L, that is equal to mv square by r, that is equal to mg. So k delta L, what I have, k delta L is coming out as minus mg by 2. That means my direction was wrong. It is basically not extended, as not compressed, it is extended basically. So I can make it out. So extension will be delta L is equal to mg by 2k. That is what I can write. So extension is mg by 2k, and k key value, if I put it mg 2k, k is 3 mg by r. So if I do this, I get the value as r by 6. So this is the extension. So the natural length will be, total length is r, natural length would be r minus r by 6. So that is 5r by 6. So it is also a very good question. You need to be careful before answering. Next one, we have a glass prism of angle 60 degree. It gives a minimum angle of deviation of 30 degree with the maximum error 1 degree when a beam of parallel light passes through the prism through an experiment. Okay. The permissible error in the measurement of refractive index of the material of the prism is, what we know the material is mu is sine of a plus delta minimum by 2 divided by sine of a by 2. Okay, so now what we have the error in this measurement of this deviation measurement has some angle error. So let's say du by d delta minimum, what I should write. So if I differentiate it, this term is constant, I can take it out directly, 1 upon sine of a by 2. Now doing this, so sine derivative is cos of a plus delta m by 2, and if I do this using chain rule, this will be 1 by 2, so I write it 2 here. So this would be the differential that we'll get. This is what d mu by d delta m that we have. So now the error, so if we divide this, or we write this as a d mu, if I drew d mu is what I get now, cos of a plus delta min by 2 upon 2 times sine of a by 2 into d delta min. So this d delta max, a permissible error we know will be equals to 1 degree. So what I can have, we need to have the percentage error, so better write it as d mu by mu divided there. So what we'll have, cos divided by sine will give me cot a plus delta m by 2, sine and sine will cancel, this 2 will remain, and this is delta d delta max. So now put it, a plus delta m, that is 60 plus 90 by 2, cot 45 is done, so that is 1 by 2, and this was equals to what, how much, this is equals to d delta max is equal to, this is 1 degree. So 1 degree, if I do this 1 degree I should convert into radian, so this is pi by 180, that should be the better one, because that is the unit that we use in SI system. So this would be pi upon 360. So if I do it in percent, this would be 100%. So if I do, what I will get definitely this one, 50 pi upon 180%, that you can make it out. So there's option 50 pi upon 180% or 5 pi upon 18%. I think both are one and the same, so it's up to you. You tick C or you tick D. I think both are same. Yes, they are same. Okay, next, find the resistor in which the dissipative power is the greatest. Okay, now this is an interesting one. Now whatever be the current, this 9 and 18 are in parallel, you can make it out, they are between the same points. 9 and 18, if I can combine them up, 18 into 9 upon 18 plus 9, if I do 18, that is 2 by 3, 9 by 3, that would be 6 ohm. Okay, this 3 and 6, this is in parallel, in series, sorry, this is 9. Oh, not series, these are short circuited, no current flows through them, so forget them. So now you have 5, 2 and 6 in series. Definitely 6 will have the greatest power, but again we need to check, 6 was not actually there. Whether the maximum power is in 9 or 18, I need to check. So let's assume this is the current I that flows. Now the current division here it is going to be 2I by 3 and it is going to be I by 3. So just check, the power in this is equal to 5I square. The power in this is equal to I square by 9 into 18, and the power in that would be equal to 2I by 3 square into 9. So this becomes 4I square by 9 into 9. So this is 4I square. So maximum is in 5 ohm. You are pretty much sure now. So 5 ohm will have the greatest of the power in it. Now, next one. A non-conducting ring of mass m and radius r is charged as shown. The charge density, that is charge per unit length, is lambda. Okay, it is placed on a rough non-conducting horizontal surface. A uniform field is established. Ring starts rolling without sliding. The friction force acting on the rod is. So first of all, looking at this, I can directly recall, I can consider this as a dipole. I can consider this as a dipole or short dipole combination, whatever you like. So let's say take any small element like this. Take an angle theta from here, take theta from here, take a small angle d theta. So this charge dq and minus dq, the value of the dq would be lambda dl. Dl means what? R d theta. And the separation between them is what we say is 2r. So the dp would be lambda r d theta into 2r. Now this is p, and where the e is here, the p direction will be like this. So if I see p cross e, it comes like this, and the angle between p and e will be 90 plus theta. So if I write the torque, this is dp into e into sine of 90 plus theta. Sine of 90 plus theta, you know, is equal to cos theta. So this is e naught, and dp is what we will now get, 2 e naught lambda r square. Sine of 90 plus theta is cos theta d theta. So if I integrate it, the complete torque, 2 e naught lambda r square is common, cos theta d theta integration from 0 to pi by 2. You do 0 to pi by 2 of cos or sine, answer comes as 1. We have done it many times. So 2 e naught lambda r square. This is the torque that acts. So this torque is equal to I alpha. So I, because it is a ring, so I will write it as mr square into alpha. So the value of the, what would you need? Okay, the frictional force acting on it. Okay, it is doing the pure rolling. Okay, so and then don't write tau equal to I alpha about this. Write this tau is independent of the origin because it is by the couple. So I can directly write tau is I about IAOR or point of contact. So point of contact mr square plus mr square. This will become 2 mr square into alpha. So alpha will be 2 e naught lambda r square upon 2 mr square. So this is the value of alpha. So this is the value of alpha that we have got. So friction is the only force which will be acting because it is rolling like this. Friction will act here, and friction will provide necessary necessary acceleration linear force. So that would be equals to m into a. A would be lambda r, 2 e naught lambda r upon 2m. So this 2 cancelled, m cancelled, e naught lambda r, and it is forward. Forward means it is equal to I cap. So that is the option A. Again, this is not an easy one. This is a good question, time taking one. Next, consider two identical rings of mass m and radius r fixed on a horizontal axis in a gravity-free space. Particle of mass m is held at rest at the center of the first ring and projected along the axis towards second ring. The minimum speed of projection of the particle reaches the center of the second ring. Now this is an interesting one. You must have done such questions. You know, crucial is not to get it here. Crucial is to pass this midpoint, because you will see beyond the midpoint what we will have, and the gravitational force of this will dominate. After that, the gravitational force of this will dominate. So the crucial point is midpoint, let's say p. So just make p velocity as 0. So what I can write when it goes taking this system, what I can write, m delta v, that is a change in energy, plus loss would be minus half mu square. That should be. Now v initial at this point was, because of the ring, was minus gm by r, and because of this one would be minus gm upon root of 5r. Okay, directly r square plus 4r square, that you know. So that would be root 5r. That is the value. And what is the final? Final would be, both will be minus gm upon r square plus r square, that is root 2r, that multiplied by 2. So if I do this, what I have, mv final, that is minus root 2 gm by r, and this becomes plus gm by r plus gm by root 5r, and put it there, that is equal to half mu square. M and m get cancelled. So the value of the u that we will get is this. If I write it like this, if I looking at the option, taking, let's say, what I should take, gm by r, let's say I should take common, I get 1 plus 1 by root 5 minus root 2. This is the option I'm looking for. Let's see with what is that option. So, and plus this 2 will also come, this will this 2 I forgot to 2 gm by r. So this option C is the most appropriate one. Now 8th one, two metal rods of the same length and area of cross sections are fixed end to end between rigid supports. The material of the rods have Young's modulus y1 and y2 and coefficient of linear expansion are alpha 1 and alpha 2. The junction between the rods doesn't shift if the rods are cooled. Okay, so junction is not shifting. So junction is not shifting. For junction not to shift, the tensions must be the same. That's why it won't displace. Both will manage each other. So the important thing is that tension developed in one should be equal to tension developed in two. And for the tension, we have the formula. If we have ay alpha delta t. If you can remember what we are given, area is same, length is same, y are different. A y1 alpha 1 and delta t, ay alpha delta t, that would be equal to a y2 alpha 2 delta t. I should write that t should be capital T for temperature, but let's okay. So subtracted, what we have, y1 alpha 1 equals to y2 alpha 2. So this one was not that difficult if you had this concept in your mind. The previous one were very lengthy. Now, two cylinders fitted with piston contain equal amount of ideal diatomic gas. The piston of A is free to move while that of B is held fixed. The one which is held fixed means the volume is constant. Free to move means pressure will always remain constant, that is P0 plus mg by A, whatever you write. Same amount of heat is given. If the temperature in A rises by 30, what will happen to B? So same amount of heat is given for the A. Q for A is Qp, that is equal to NCP delta T, and the same Q, let's write it Q for there, that would be equal to NCV delta TA. Let's write it delta TB. That should be the way we should be doing. So what we have, delta TA upon delta TB into Cp by Cv equals to 1. That is what we can write. So delta TB I can directly write as delta TA Cp by Cv is gamma. What is gamma? It is dia. Dia means 7 by 5 into delta TA. Delta TA is 30. So 6 7s are 42 Kelvin. So option D. So this is a very general question. You must have done such questions previously also. Go ahead. The resulting force on a current loop PQRS due to a long current carrying conductor, current is equal to 20 ampere will be okay. So what is the force on this PQRS due to a long current carrying conductor? So what we know, this and this, these forces will cancel up because of opposite direction. Only the forces will be because of these two. This would be attractive more, this would be repulsive less. So the forces where we can directly write mu naught I1 I2 upon 2 pi, let's say here 2 centimeter into whatever be the length, that is 15 centimeter, minus mu naught I1 I2 2 pi, there the gap becomes 12 centimeter into L. That is the net force that we will have. So doing this, what we get, mu naught by taking common, mu naught by 2 pi I1 I2 L common, and what we have, 1 by 2 centimeter minus 1 by 12 centimeter. Now putting it in the SI units, mu naught by 2 pi is 2 into 10 to the power minus 7. I1 I2 20 into 20, that is 400. Length is 0.15. This is 0.02. This is or write it 100 by 2, that is more better, 100 by 12. So what we have now, and this 100 will also come, so let it be 15, and this becomes 8 into 10 ki power minus 5. This becomes 15. 1 by 2 minus 1 by 12, that is 6 minus 1, that is 5 by 12. This is 2, this is 3, this is 5. So now what we have, 5 5 is 25 into 2, 50 into 10 ki power minus 5 Newton. So that is 5 into 10 ki power minus 4 Newton. So go for option D. Again, you can do this. You must have done such questions before. So calculative was there. Now, a particle is projected with this velocity so that it just clears two walls of equal height h, which are at a distance 2h from each other. What is the time interval of passing through the two walls? Okay. So what you have two walls at a gap of 2h distance, and they have a height h like this. And a ball is thrown with some velocity. It passes like that. Okay. So you need to calculate this time interval between the two. So now, how you are going to calculate this time interval? So just remembering our projectile theory. So first thing I know, in the horizontal the speed is going to remain the same, so ux into whatever be the gap between the two, time gap, that should be equal to 2h. This is my first equation that I know to use this 2h. Now for y I can solve h is equal to uyt minus half gt square, and this equation will have two solutions, t1 and t2. So I need to take the difference of the roots, and you remember from your quadratic, alpha minus beta whole square is equal to alpha plus beta ka whole square minus 4 alpha beta. So you can take it from there. So what we can have, first arrange it into the quadratic way. What we have, half gt square and what we have here, minus u by t plus h equal to 0. So what we have this delta t. I can write it from here. So from here delta t would be that root of alpha plus beta ka whole square. Alpha plus beta is minus b by a, that is 2 uy by g ka whole square, minus 4 alpha beta. Alpha beta is c by a, that is 2h by g, that becomes 8h by g. That is what I can write. So what this duration comes out as, this delta t will come directly as this is 4 uy square by g square minus 8h by g. So that is what I can. So squaring both sides, I can write uy square now as delta t square plus 8h by g into g square by 4. That is what I can write, uy square. And similarly from above, ux square can be written as 4h square upon delta t square. So if I do this calculations here, I know one thing. I have given ux square plus uy square, that I am sure that is equal to 4gh. So putting that value, ux square would be 4h square upon delta t square. Here what is the uy square? The uy square comes out as g square delta t square by 4, plus if I multiply it, it becomes 2gh, that is 4gh. So now what again? Oh, this is again a very dreadful equation to solve, but let's try it out. So 4h square by delta t square plus g square delta t square by 4 minus 2gh equal to 0. So if I do this, this becomes g square by 4 into delta t ki power 4 minus 2gh delta t square plus 4h square equal to 0. So solving for delta t square, I will only search for the positive value, not for the negative value. So delta t square would be 2gh plus minus whatever way I can write. This is 4g square h square minus 4ac 4 got, this is 4g square h square. So it's a perfect square basically. So delta t comes out as root 2 gh. That is what I can write it down from that divided by 2a also, sorry. So that is g square by 2. So let me recall, it is 4h by g. So delta t is going to be root of 4h by g, that is 2 root h by g. Again, this is a calculative one, we can't escape. So tough one again. 12th. There is a trolley in which there is a fixed inclined plane on which a smooth block of 5 kg is placed. Two horizontal surfaces F1, F2 applied on the trolley as to keep it at rest. The value of F1 minus F2 is okay to keep it at rest. Now here, why the trolley will want to move? Because the blocks, it will exert a normal force on the block, and that normal will be exerted on the trolley, and this component n forward will try to take it forward. So to manage it out, so what we need to have, this angle we know is 37. So this is the angle between these two lines and these two, and this is normal to that, so that angle will become 53 degree, you know. So what we have, n cos 53 degree, that should be balanced by what we have, f2 minus f1, because it is rightward, so f2 minus f1 would be greater. And what is the value of n? So what we generally write, because to keep it at rest, we need to first find the value of n. So what is the value of n now? So value of n can be written directly as n is equal to the, in the frame of trolley, if I see this n, we know this is mg. So this is to keep because block won't move normal in this direction, so n would be equal to mg, what we have, cos theta, that is mg cos 37. Okay, so n is mg cos 37, put it there. So mg cos 37 is 4 by 5, cos 53 is 3 by 5, that is f2 minus f1. Now what is mg? This is 50, this is 12 by 25, this is 2, 24. So f2 minus f1 is 24, so f1 minus f2 is minus 24. Go for option C. You can do this now. Next one. So this is also not a very easy one. Two radioactive nuclei P and Q are in a given sample decay into a stable nucleus R. At t equal to 0, P species are 4 and not, Q is n naught. Half-life of P is 1 minute, whereas that of Q is 2 minutes. Okay. Initially, there are no R present in the sample. When the number of nuclei of P and Q is equal, the number of nuclei of R present in the sample will be. Okay, so its half-life is 1 minute, its half-life is 2 minutes. So let's first see P and Q. P initially was 4 and naught, and this was n naught. So at t equal to 1 minute, it will become 2 and naught. T equal to 2 minute, it will become n naught. and this will become n naught by 2 because its half life has come. Similarly, t equal to 4, it will become n naught by 2, and this will become n naught by 4. Okay, not n naught by 4, sorry, this will also become n naught by 4 because it's 2 half life for this. So what we have at t equal to 4, both will be equal. So in 4 seconds it has reduced to 4 n naught to n naught by 4. That means the number decayed is 4 minus 1 by 4, that is 15 by 4 n naught. Here the decay is n naught minus n naught by 4, which is n naught into 3 by 4. So this is 18 n naught by 4, that is what we have, 9 n naught by 2. This is the number of R that would have been created. Okay, now the 14th one. One end of a long wire is tied to the ceiling, other is connected to a spring of constant K. A mass M hangs freely from the free end of the spring. The area of cross section is this. If the mass is slightly pulled, it will oscillate. So here we treat rod also as series. Both are in series. So K series is 1 upon K, equivalent in series 1 upon K1 plus 1 upon K2, I know. So for the spring we have 1 by K. For the rod, you know, K is equal to AY by L, if you remember. So that is L upon AY. So that becomes what we have, AY plus KL upon KAY. That is 1 upon K series. And the time period, you know, is equals to 2 pi root of M by K. That is K series. So that is 2 pi. What we have now, 1 upon KS, I can write it as AY plus KL upon KAY. So now make out which option is looking like the perfect one. There's only one I can see, B. Okay. Next one. The electric bulb of power 30 pi watt has an efficiency of 10%, can be assumed to behave like a point source. At a distance 3 meter, the peak value of the electric field. Okay. So how you are going to calculate? This question is again given in your NCERT in EM waves as a last solved example, similar profile. So first of all, the effective intensity would be, what we say, it is P upon 4 pi r square. The effective power is 10%, that is 3 pi upon 4 pi into 3 square, that is 9. So this is what we get, 1 by 12 watt per meter square. This is the intensity. Now this intensity is due to both electric and magnetic field. I directly write this intensity as half epsilon naught C E max square from the result that we have related from there. So directly E max, if I have to write, I can write it as root 2 I upon E naught C. Okay, so if we do this, I is 1 by 12, epsilon naught, that is 8.85 into 10 to the power minus 12, C is 3 into 10 to the power 8. So if I do this, what I get, 10 to the power minus 12, 10 to the power 8, 10 to the power 4 into 2, here what you have, 12 into 3 into 8.85, so this is 6, 3, 18, 10 to the power 2 I take as outside, 1 upon 18 into 8.85. So 18 8s are, if you do 180, 36, that 144, it is 150 something. So it is 100 by 12 something, the result I am getting. So 100 by 12, nothing seems like. So it is tough to, it is almost 9 root 2 going by the approximate calculations, or okay, epsilon naught is given as a 9. So it becomes easy. I didn't notice that. You should note that. So it will be quite a smoother ride for you. So 9 root 2 is directly, now you can make it out. Okay, next. A rigid bar of mass 15 kg is supported symmetrically by 3 wires, each of length 2 meter. The wires at the endpoints are made of copper and the middle one is made of steel. The tension in each wire is the same. Then the ratio of the diameter of the copper wire to the diameter of the steel wire is okay. So it is symmetrically supported by 3 wires, each of the length 2 meters. The wires at the end points are of copper and the middle one is steel. So this one is copper, and let's say this middle one is steel. Okay. Now, if the tension in each wire is same, okay, in each wire is same, then the ratio of the diameter would be, okay. So this is T. So what I have, 3T is equal to mg. Okay. Now, so 3T is equal to mg. So T is equal to mg by 3. So this is the same tension is developed in both, that is equal to mg by 3, that is 150 by 3, that is equal to 50 newtons. Now tension, you know, is equal to, F is equal to, delta L is FL upon AY, so that is AY by L into delta L, that is what we write. So the ratio of the diameter, and because it is supported, delta L will also be same, T is also same, so what I can make out, AY by L must be equals to same, and because length is initially same, so AY is same, so the area, or you can say R square Y, is equal to same. So what I can say, R1 by R2 would be equal to root of Y2 by Y1. So ratio of copper to steel, so steel, what you have 1.9, that is 1.1, so root of 19 by 11 is the option. This was not needed, this tension calculation was not needed at all. Now the 17th one, Zener diodes have higher dopant density as compared, because we dope it very highly, so that the depletion region formed is very very thin and the electric field formed is very very strong. So the option will be this one, width will be less and field would be more. Now coming to 18th one, metal sphere of radius r and specific heat S is rotated about an axis passing through its center at a speed of n rotation per second. Suddenly stop 50% of the energy utilized in increasing the temperature, then the rise in temperature. So first of all, what was the energy? Half I. Metal sphere means I should write it as metal solid ही लेंगे तो 2 by 5 mr square into omega. Omega is what? N rotations per second, that is a frequency. Omega is 2 pi f, that is 2 pi n whole square, and half of that, because 50% is utilized, that is equal to ms delta t. So m and m get cancelled. So what is delta t now? So this 2 to 2 cancelled. What we have, 4 pi square n square r square upon 10 s. Now make it out. If any option you are looking like coming like that, if it is okay, there is no option I can make it out. No, this is coming 2 by 5. Okay, 4 by 10, 2 by 5. So this is option A. So option A is correct. I was searching for 4 by 10. I should have reduced it to 2 by 5. Now the dimensional formula for magnetic flux. This is the question I am looking like. Okay, this is a easier one practically if I feel like. So just remember any formula where this magnetic flux is coming. First is B into A, but calculating B itself is not that easy if you don't know the formula. So it's better is go for E equals to minus d phi by dt. That's going to be better. So E is what? Work done per unit charge. That is minus d phi b, that is phi b, so dimensionally that is phi b by t I can write. So dimension of phi b would be wt by q. W is what I know, ml2t minus 2 multiplied by t, q is at. So what we now have, so this will completely be cancelled. So this is ml2a minus 1, that is what I am getting, ml2 a minus 1 and t minus 2, sorry, this t cancelled. So ml2 a minus 1 t minus 2, which is the option, this is okay, this one is t minus 1, no, this is not the option, this is the t1. Okay, now going ahead, 20th, a heavy flexible uniform chain of length pi r and mass lambda pi r lies in a smooth semicircular tube AB of the radius r. Assuming a slight disturbance to start the chain in motion, find the velocity v with which it will emerge from the end B of the tube. Okay, again I'm telling you, just remember the formula of center of gravity here. They have been kind to you, they have given the center of gravity here. So when it is about to leave like this, when it is about to leave, the center of mass would be here at the distance. What is this total length? This total length would be equal to what I can write, this is pi r, so this is pi r by 2. So this is pi r by 2 and 2r by 5. So total loss in potential energy is mgh. H would be of cm 2r by pi plus pi r by 2, that is equal to half mv square. Okay, so and this is m and m get cancelled, and what we now have, we need to calculate the velocity now. Okay, so v is root 2g into 2r by pi plus pi r by 2. So taking r common, what I will have, root 2gr, I will have 2 by pi plus pi by 2, and I am getting it as option C. So again you can do this. The question is really kind, it has given you the center of gravity, otherwise if you couldn't recall it, you have to leave the question, no option else. Now a rectangular frame ABCD made of a uniform metal wire has a straight connection between E and F, okay, made of the same wire as shown in the figure. AEFD, okay, AEFD is a square of side 1 meter, FB is equal to FC is equal to 0.5, okay. The entire circuit is placed in a steadily increasing uniform field directed into the plane of the paper. The rate of change of the field is 1 Tesla per second. Resistance per unit is given this. If the current in the segments AE and EF are this and this, what is the value of IAB upon, sorry, IAE upon IN EF? Okay. So now, first of all, look like what will happen here. What will happen here, I can make it out like this is a frame, and what we have, the field is directed into here. EMF will be induced in both the loops, and I can represent that by a battery anywhere in the loop. So let's say represent it at there and there writing only. So just modeling it, these three are in series, so their resistance combined, let's say write as 3 ohm, and this battery, let's say, because it is inward is increasing, so it would be anti-clockwise sense, so the polarity would be like this. Let's say even this resistance is 1 ohm, this is 0.5, this is 1, this is 0.5, so this becomes 2 ohms, and let's say again the polarity would be like this would be A2. Now what is E1? E1 would be, the magnitude would be A1 into dB by dt, and this area A1 is square, 1 square into dB by dt is 1, that is 1 volt. Similarly E2 is A2 dB by dt, so this is half into 1 into 1, that is half volt. Okay, so these are the polarities. Now that is, we have reduced it to a simple current electricity question. We have to find the current in IAE. So let's write it as I1. EF is this one, let's write it as I2. Okay, so this is I1, I2 goes here, so let's say this would be I1 minus I2. Now two loops, writing the two loops, first write this one. So what I get, 1 E1 minus 1 into I1 and 1 into I2, sorry, and this is minus 3I1 equals to 0. So 1 is equal to I2 plus 3I1. This is my first equation. Now second loop, let's say the complete outer one I take. So this is E1 1, E2, that is plus 0.5. Here I will get minus 2 times I1 minus I2, and there I will get minus 3I1 equals to 0. So what I get, basically 5I1 minus 2I2 is equal to 1.5. So this is my second equation. Now multiply this by 2, this will become, I should write it as 2I2 plus 6I1 equals to 2. Now add them, what I will get, 11I1 is equals to, what I am getting, 3.5. so I1 value comes out as 7 by 22, I can write. Okay, now what is I2? I2 would be 1 minus 3I1, that is 1 minus 21 by 22, that is 1 by 22 amperes. So what is I1 by I2? Now you can get it, the value is 7. So this question is solved. So it's a good one. Next one, 22nd. Let's see what is there in this particular question. Rectangular tank filled with some liquid is accelerated along a horizontal surface. Inside the liquid, a laser pointer is fixed at the center of the tank, which shoots a thin laser beam in the vertically upward. If after refraction from the liquid surface, the laser beam moves along the surface of the liquid, then what is the refractive index of the liquid? Okay, so let's assume this is a beaker. This is acceleration, let's say A0. So the surface will be like this, I know. Now after refraction, it becomes parallel to the surface. It becomes along the surface. Okay, so it simply means this angle is theta c. So this simply means this angle is theta c. That's why it goes like this. So this angle is a theta c, what I can make out. So simply if this angle is theta c, I can say this angle is also theta c, and this tan theta c I know is equal to A0 by G. So what is A0? A0 is 40 by 3. So this becomes 4 by 3. So theta c is equal to this tan theta c. So the liquid index medium, we so know sin theta c is 1 by n. So n is equal to 1 upon sin theta c. So tan theta c is 4 by 3. So tan theta c would be 4 by 5. So that is 5 by 4. So the answer should be 1.25. So this sort of question is common. You must have done something like that. Uniform ball of radius r placed on the top of a sphere of radius 10r is given a slight push, due to which it starts rolling down the sphere without slipping. The spin angular velocity of the ball when it breaks off the sphere is omega is this, where g is the acceleration due to gravity, p and q are the smallest integer. What is the value of p plus q? Okay, so let us like this. Let's say it breaks off somewhere here at this angle theta. So first of all, the loss in potential energy, I should take the reference of cm. So the handle length will become r plus r into 1 minus cos theta. That should be equals to the gain in energy, that is half ip omega square. Point of contact, directly I am writing 2 by 5 mr square plus mr square because I need omega. 7 by 5 mr square omega square. This is my first equation. Okay, so just before writing it one, let it simplify more. So this r plus r will be 11r. So 11 mgr. 1 minus cos theta is 7 by 10 mr square, or let's say I reduce this r from here, that will become r there. So r omega square. This is the first. Now the second one, because it has lost contact, so only force acting is mg. So mg cos theta is providing necessary centripetal force, which is mv square. V I can write as omega r square by r. So what I get, mg cos theta is equal to m omega square r. This is second. Now put this value of mg cos theta there. So what I get, 11 mg minus 11 mg cos theta. So if I put that cos theta, okay, just this is my mistake. This is not that r. That r is again that r plus r. That will be, this radius is 10 plus 11. So I should write it as 11r. So here I will have m omega square r by 11. Otherwise the things will get murkier. So cos theta. So mg cos theta, I need 11 mg cos theta. So I am substituting the value of this mg cos theta from the lower equation. This is 11. Let me take it, 11 mg cos theta. So mg cos theta will become m omega square by 11. Luckily 11 get cancelled. Okay, so we are saved some calculation, and this would be 7 by 10 m omega square r. So now what we have, 11 mg is, if I do this there, this is 17 by 10 m omega square r. M and m get cancelled. Omega I get as 110 by 17 g by r. So comparing, p is 110, this is r, so this is 127. Again, it's a, you need to be careful, take r plus r, not capital R only, otherwise you will fall short. Now, plane mirror of length 30 centimeters placed horizontally along with a vertical screen. Okay, a monochromatic point source of light is placed 20 centimeter to the left plane of the edge of the mirror at a height of 2 mm. If the wavelength is 6400 angstrom, then find the number of complete bright fringes formed. Okay, so here you have got the second source virtually like this. So this is the second source, and the gap between them will become 2, that is 4 mm. So for us d becomes 4 mm. Okay, now, and the screen distance, it will become 20 plus 30, that is 50 centimeter. So in our normal terms. Now what we need, the number of complete bright fringes that are going to be formed. So number of complete bright fringes. Okay, so complete bright fringes. So first of all, let us take consider this. This is the minimum, this is the start of where we are sketching this. So if I sketch this, because this is 220, this is 30, I can make out this will go till 3 mm here. So this is the topmost point here, and as I go there, this height keeps on decreasing. So we have to see only till here. Now at this point, if I check the order, so the order would be, the part difference would be d sine theta. So d, what I have, d as 4 mm, and sine theta, if I take the sine theta, it would be 3 mm upon this distance. This is 50 centimeters. So if I do this, this is 4 mm into, let's say this will become 3 by 500 if I reduce it. So this is 500, this is 125. So what we have, 3 by 125 into 10 to the power minus 3. Take it in SI units and take it to be some n times of lambda. Lambda is 6400 into 10 to the power minus 10. So what now we have as n is 3 by 125 into, this will become 10 to the power 7 here, and it is 6400. So if I do this, and this is 125 into 64, let it be 10 to the power, which I can write as 300 into 1000 upon 125 into 64, and I know 125 8 is 1000, so 8, this will become 8, 300 by 8, so 300 by 8 is, if I do, this is 324, 24 and 60 is 56, 7 and that is 37.5. And I know the first maxima is not here, it is minima because of the pi phase change. First it is 0.5 and this is 37.5. That means we will have 37 maximas here. Here won't be the 0th order I am counting, so it won't be 38, it would be 37. So that is going to be my answer. So the 37 maximas we are going to see on the screen now. Now coming to the end after a very long time, string of length 1.5 meter with 2 end clamped is vibrating in fundamental mode. The amplitude at the center is 4 mm. So in the fundamental mode, you know, this is antinode. Okay. The minimum distance between the 2 points having amplitude of 2 millimeters is. So you need the points with amplitude is a by 2. So just let me draw that envelope that we usually draw like this. So if I have to dictate it, what I will say, the 2 points having amplitude at any point, I can directly write it in this way as 4 mm, and I can write it as a sine form, and because x equal to 0 is 0, and here what I can have, sine kx I should write. So what is k? This length L, this 1.5 would be equal to lambda by 2, so lambda is equal to 3 mm, 3 meters, not mm, 3 meters. So k is 2 pi by lambda, which is 2 pi by 3. So 2 pi by 3 into x. So for this to be a by 2, this should be half. So this 2 pi by 3x should either be equal to pi by 6 or it should be equal to 5 pi by 6. So I get the two values here. The first one, the first x1 will I get at that would be 3 by 12, that is 1 by 4 meter. The second one I'll get at 5 into 3 by 12, that is 15 by 12, that is 5 by 4. So the distance is 1 meter as per me. Let's check it out what it is given. Yes, it is 1. So that was today's paper. It was actually a real tough one.